Welcome back to From Wayne to Wonder. Welcome to Project Potter. I can't talk like that the whole time, guys. Welcome to Project Potter, guys. Welcome back to From Wayne to Wonder, our Batman in review. Guys, we are back with 1989 Batman. This was my first time watching this movie. I am a 30-year-old man, guys. I just watched Shining for the first time last October, so I got my good fill of Crazy Jack. We got more Crazy Jack in this one, guys. A little disappointed with this movie, to be honest with you guys, but I'll get into all of that. This is our Batman review. My name is Kyle, your host. Welcome to Project Potter, guys. Appreciate you stopping by. Go check out the other content on the channel, of course. Guys, this is going to be a different format than the first one. The thing is, guys, I recorded the 1966 Batman, like, at the time of this recording, like a year ago, probably, or like at least 6 or 7 months ago. And that was before I shifted to shorter content, which I think is much better for everyone. So I went through the Bat Cap and pretty much recapped that whole goofy movie. Did a favorite character, at least favorite character score out of 10. We're going to keep those things intact here. But guys, we're not doing a Bat Cap anymore. This is a review, guys. You guys hopefully have seen the movie by now. The expectation with all my content, really, all my reviews, is that I was spending too much time on the plot and not enough on my thoughts. So we're going to go through the thoughts, guys. Like I said, favorite character, least favorite character, score out of 10, and then the rankings, of course. This is the second movie of the Batman in review, 1966 Batman. Now we have the 1989 Batman. So what do I think of this movie, guys? Let's find out. Okay, so 1989 Batman. Guys, I've heard nothing but great things about this movie. Everyone's like, 1989 Batman is the best. We get that great scene in Neighbors where Seth Rogen and Zac Efron are like, who's your Batman? And he's like, oh, it's Bale. And he's like, no, my Batman is Michael Keaton. I'm trying to be as fair to this movie as possible, but it's almost impossible because I go into this movie having seen Joker and loving it, having seen the Dark Knight trilogy and loving it. And so this movie came out before even like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in 2002, right? There was no MCU, obviously. There was no Dark Knight trilogy. There was no Joker movie. There was no even Batman versus Superman. This was it. There was no really comic book movies, and there were no superhero movies. And so I'm trying to think about that and keep that in the back of my head. It's really hard to sit here and watch Michael Keaton as Batman and not be like, man, my Batman is Christian Bale. A couple of things, guys. First of all, the whole like Batman doesn't kill thing, I love. Except Batman in this movie has Jack Napier hanging above a vat. And then this is what I didn't like. This is before Bruce knows that Jack is a bad dude. This is before he figures out that Jack is the one who killed his parents. And guys, we get another origin scene. Now, again, this came before everything else, so I get it. But we don't need to see, just like in the origin movie, we don't need to see Spider-Man get bit by a radioactive spider, not to keep comparing the two franchises. We don't need another origin for Batman. We don't need to see his parents in Crime Alley go down there and have Joe Chill, or who, in this case, the Joker, or Jack Napier at the time, shoot them and the pearls falling, and it's like, we've seen this already. Now, again, this is a 1989 film, and you have to think that, like, Dark Knight trilogy didn't exist. All that stuff didn't exist. So I get it. So this movie walks so that the Dark Knight trilogy could run, in my opinion. So I'm trying to be fair about all that. But watching this, having all the Batman knowledge, hindsight is 2020, and it's like, man, it's like I don't want to watch this anymore. But I will say, guys, some things I really liked about this. Oh, sorry. I'm literally distracting myself, which is like every single Project Potter review. Batman does not kill, but he's got Jack Napier, like I said, guys, before he knows he's the Joker, obviously, because this is how he creates the Joker. But before he knows he killed his parents, before he knows he's like a crime boss, he just is like, obviously he knows he's like somewhat of a bad dude. But instead of pulling him up, they pull a 180 on us and he like just drops him. Batman's like, should I pull up this guy? And he's like, nope, peace. And I was like, oh, dude, this Batman's not playing around. Like Michael Keaton not fucking around as Batman. Drops this man into acid. He had to have known that he just basically murdered the man, and I don't know how he survived that, but that's how he becomes the Joker. Guys, young Jack Nicholson, guys, like I said, having just watched The Shining last October for Spooktober and loving it, man, dude, Jack Nicholson brings the heat in this movie. Some things I didn't like about his character, he had the face paint on. I thought it looked a little goofy. Obviously, his like messed up smile was awesome, and he clearly like put something in his mouth to make his mouth like that. And that must have been really uncomfortable. But I hated how they went from like makeup to no makeup to makeup to no makeup. And I'm like, oh, dude, either have the makeup on the whole time, right? And then he takes it off at the end, and like he says, "Oh, Batman, I took off my makeup. Will you take off yours?" And he means like, take your mask off. But I was like, they're switching too much. I don't like this. Joker is the scariest to me when he's like in the shadows and we're not seeing much of him. I like the more serious Joker of like the Heath Ledger, like the psychological Joker. But with that being said, guys, Jack is really, really great in this. I love the whole scene where he like unveils his he's like with the doctor, the plastic surgeon, or whatever, in like just like a backwater like laboratory where it looked like right out of BioShock. If you guys have played BioShock, I was like, that scene where you go and like fight the doctor. Don't know if that was inspired by 1989 Batman, but I was like, wow, this looks just like BioShock. But when he's like, mirror, and he sees it and he like smashes the mirror and then he just like walks away, he's like laughing maniacally. I'm like, man, dude, Jack Nicholson knows how to play a crazy dude. And he just absolutely like steals a scene every scene he's in. Vicky Vale, I thought was excellent. I absolutely loved her performance. Kim Basinger, I think, is the name. If not, I'll correct that here, guys. But I thought she was excellent. I thought she was sexy. I thought she was appealing. I love how, what's his name, Knox, I think, was who I really liked as a character as well. He was like into her initially, and then he's like, oh, marry me, Vicky, whatever. And she's like, nah, like they're just work partners. And I like how that relationship builds. Her interest in Bruce was great. And I love how she like goes to the party and she's like, excuse me, do you know which one of these fellows is Bruce Wayne? And she taps on Bruce Wayne's shoulder and he's like, no, I'm sorry, I don't. But then it's like, there's a great scene where, right after that, where Keaton puts like his cigarette or whatever in the statue. But I'm like, why did you say you don't? It's just weird to be like, no, I don't know who Bruce Wayne is. But then he like looks at her and I thought he was going to be like, oh, Bruce Wayne. He's like, oh, you're looking at him or whatever. But it was strange. I will say, guys, I thought Michael Keaton as Batman and Bruce Wayne, he was fine. I think he was fine. I don't think he was particularly like great. I can tell you right now, guys, I prefer Christian Bale over this Batman and this Bruce Wayne. I just thought there wasn't really enough. I would have liked to see more Bruce. And so, again, it's hard, guys, because this came before everything. So I'm trying not to put the other Batman movies in here. But when you're doing a Batman review, guys, it's almost impossible to keep those out of your head. So, yeah, I love Michael Keaton. Like, I just want to be clear here, guys. I'm not like an anti-Michael Keaton guy. Loved him as the Vulture in Spider-Man. I think he's an excellent actor. He's really fun every time he's on screen. I just thought this wasn't his best role, and I thought he was okay. The suit, I like the suit. The bright yellow, even though I'm like pretty much wearing the shirt here, it's a bit much for me. I like the more, again, I'm trying not to compare everything to Dark Knight, but I like, Bale's hockey pads that he wears. And I like that suit better. This is a little too comic booky, but again, this is like very heavily inspired by the comics, of course, created by Bob Kane. And, we get the bat wing or whatever at the end, and it literally looks like the CGI, I think, was a little strange. But again, 1989, I'm trying not to be too nitpicky here, guys. I definitely didn't hate the film. I thought the Gotham City as a whole, as an environment, as a character, really, I thought it was excellent. A whole lot of steam effects in this movie, like just steam everywhere. And I was like, all right, this movie showed its age a little bit, but for the most part, I was really into it. I would have liked more interaction between Bruce and Alfred. I felt like they had some interactions and there were some nice moments. Alfred was okay, I thought, but I didn't really feel that connection between them. Alfred has that line at the end after he puts his suit in through like Batman's suit is in like a giant vault. Looks like a vault out of like Fast and Furious, dude. And he like puts it up and he's like, I'd rather not spend my remaining years grieving another family member or their son. And he's like, yo, like, I don't want to go to your funeral. And I was like, that's a nice moment. But I just didn't really feel the connection between Bruce and Alfred as much as I have in later movies. But again, guys, this movie came before those. So I think a lot of the issues I have with this movie are just because we've seen better, quote unquote, better versions of that at this point, because the newer films obviously have looked at films like this and said, okay, this did XYZ great, we're going to do it better, or we're going to expand on this. And so it's really hard for me as a first-time watcher in 2022 to watch this 1989 Batman, having seen all the other Batman movies, and go, oh yeah, this is the best Batman movie. I can't do that because I do prefer the more modern Batmans, and I think we've evolved from this. But I did have a good time with this film, guys. I think this film was about 30 minutes too long. I think there was a little bit of fluff in there that I think if you trimmed out a few of the scenes, I think it would have been a crisp, like this could have been a 90-minute movie. I think it's just over 2 hours for the runtime, but I think if we did about 90 minutes, it would have been great. I definitely didn't hate this movie. I enjoyed it. I thought there were scenes that really stood out well. I just didn't think Keaton stood out as Batman that much. I mean, he doesn't really say much as Batman. And I know Batman's not like this open book, but it's like Bruce Wayne is always kind of a loner and all that. But it's just kind of like, I don't know. I will say, guys, I like the opening scene where there's a family in Crime Alley, and I thought we were getting the origin. And then they were like, oh, come on, Harold. And it was the father. And I was like, wait. I was like, isn't the father's name Thomas Wayne? Isn't it Thomas and Martha? And then it's like, you get the shot, and it's Batman looking down on them. And I was like, oh, and we get that awesome scene with the thugs who are like sitting there, and he's like, oh, there's no such thing as the bat. And then like you see Michael Keaton like drop in there, and you know, he's got the big cape and stuff. And I mean, it was fine. I think fine is the word I'm going to say. It's, you know, Jack was great. I thought he was really, really awesome. Like I said, I mentioned some issues I had with the makeup kind of on and off. It was very Tim Burton. I mean, it's directed by Tim Burton, so of course it's going to be Tim Burton, but it felt like he was pushing a little bit of like Nightmare Before Christmas in a couple scenes, but not in like the way that Nightmare Before Christmas shined, and it's like one of my favorite movies. Like when obviously the Batmobile stuff is cool, where he's going through and he can like shield up or shield down. He's got like a little remote where he's like stop and it almost hits him. I thought that stuff was all great, but when he's like, it's like going through the woods, and obviously guys heavily inspired by the comics, but the woods were just like very like gothic-y, and I was like, all right, this feels a little bit like Tim Burton's putting his spin on it, which wasn't necessarily bad. It was just kind of like, oh, okay. Like it almost feel like it didn't really fit with me. I love the part where Joker is going through and he's like, I'm giving out money, and they say like the greed of Gotham, and you know, with the scene where he throws the pen at the guy's neck was really nuts and messed up. And then that's when Bruce is first like, oh, this guy is this guy's not messing around. Let's not forget, guys, Bruce, not only did he try killing Jack the first time by dropping him in a vat of acid at Axis Chemicals, he then knows, obviously the Joker's dangerous and he's trying to kill Vicky and Batman. We know that. And he's like full off the rocker. And again, Jack Nicholson just absolutely kills it in this role. But Michael Keaton, or I should say Bruce Wayne, or I should say Batman, he shoots like his grappling hook or whatever, and he ties, when Joker's going to like get away in the helicopter, I thought the goons, Joker's goons, they're always like dumb except for in Dark Knight where they're awesome, but they're like, come on, get up the ladder. He shoots Jack, and then he like ties him to a stone gargoyle, and it's like, you know, that's going to kill him. Like you are basically murdering a man, and yes, he's been doing bad things, and yes, he needs to be stopped. But I feel like we know the Batman so well that he doesn't kill, and he straight up like shot Jack's leg to the gargoyle, and then it went off, and he didn't even attempt to save him. He's like, and Jack just falls right to his death, and then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, dude, that dude's dead. And then it's a nice shot where they go over and he's got like the Joker teeth or something, like making the sound, and there he obviously dies with a smile. But I said I wouldn't go too much on the recap, guys, but I feel like I just touched on all the major points. So with that being said, guys, we are going to go to the hero we deserve, which is my favorite character. It's Jack, baby. It's Jack Nicholson. It's the Joker. Man, dude, like I said, guys, Jack Nicholson, and especially Crazy Jack. And it's like, I just want to go watch The Shining again now after seeing this, because I love how we see Jack start out as just like not even a crime boss. He's like a right-hand man. And then they're going through ideas on what to do because they're like, oh, Batman's picking off all these criminals. And then Jack says something like, let's do this. And they're like, you know what? That's a great idea. They're like, Jack, I want you to lead this operation. He's like, me? And it's just really, really nice. That's before he becomes Joker, I think. And there's a line, guys, where I didn't mention where Joker is obviously like messing around with Vicky Vale and they're dancing and stuff. And Batman, it's like very dangerous in the clock tower. He says to Batman, he's like, you idiot, you created me. And also, guys, I don't think I'm wearing the bat mask. I don't think the ears are coming through here in the background, unfortunately. So this probably looks kind of weird, but well, it is what it is. Oh, guys, really quick. Like I'm interrupting myself, like I'm on my own agenda or something. Let's talk about the fact that Vicky's in the Batmobile and she's looking there before she knows who Bruce is. And then she's like getting close, like looking at him. And then he just like blinds her with he like basically turns the light on in the car and it just like blinds her, and then they go through the Batcave and stuff. But eventually Alfred like brings Vicky in because he's like, dude, just tell her that you're Batman. And he's like, Alfred, I don't really know. And he just brings her in there, and eventually, and it makes it so much easier. It's like, dude, just you're gonna endanger her more. Just tell her you're Batman. So anyway, guys, yeah, I thought Jack Nicholson was absolutely phenomenal. I loved like kind of his origin. It was weird to me that Batman dropped Jack into the tank, but I also do like the twist that like the Joker origin story is usually like, you know, in Joaquin Phoenix's, it's like, you know, everyone's like kicking him while he's down and things like that. With this one, it's interesting that like Batman's a little bit different, right? And, you know, it's not like he isn't trying to kill. It's like he straight up dropped the dude in a vat. And it's like, that's how we get the Joker. And I was like, oh, interesting. Very, very interesting take. Like, I did not expect that to happen. There was a good twist there. But we just see like, man, when he's in the seat and his like hands are shaking and stuff, and he goes in the apartment or whatever to go see like the old crime boss or whatever, and he shoots him a couple times, and then he's like reading the paper and stuff. I just thought he stole the show, and he was such a force in this movie where it's like, even though Michael Keaton was the star of the show as Batman, I thought Jack Nicholson just acted circles around him, and I thought he was the best character by far. And in a movie where it's really just like Keaton, Nicholson, Vicky Vale, and then like a little bit of Alfred, and then there's like the Gotham police, which are there's questions about whether Batman's working on their payroll and stuff, which I liked. But in a movie where it's kind of a small cast, I thought Jack obviously just like showed that he is just a force, and I thought he was excellent throughout this whole movie. Okay, guys, and who watched the world burn, which is our least favorite character? I have to say, I won't dare say that it was Michael Keaton, because even though I didn't think he was great, I didn't think he was bad at all. I got to say it's the guy, not the you know what? I'm going to go with Commissioner Gordon, actually. This is a different take on Commissioner Gordon. I didn't feel like Commissioner Gordon was not interesting, but just like he didn't feel powerful to me. They're playing like craps or whatever in the casino. I think they're in a casino or something. I don't remember. But Commissioner Gordon is like, we're so used to like the Arkham games where he's like working so closely with Batman, and like he, you know, the Dark Knight trilogy, obviously he like goes to the bat signal, and obviously at the end they introduce the bat signal, and that's a cool moment. But I just thought that it was like mostly focused on like Knox and Vicky Vale, and then obviously Joker and Batman, and there was like no Commissioner Gordon was like a side story. Also, guys, are we going to talk about how we had Lando Calrissian as Harvey Dent, and they introduced him, and I was like, oh, we get Billy D. Williams, and I was like, oh, this is going to be great, dude. We got Lando as Harvey Dent, and maybe he's the main villain in the next couple. I don't know. I haven't seen them, but I was like, oh, cool. And he's not in the rest of the movie. I'm like, what are you doing with Billy D, dude? You had him came in, he had a big press conference. Harvey Dent's going to be the change. I was like, oh, it's cool that we get a black Harvey Dent. We never get a black Harvey Dent, and then he just is not in the movie. And I was like, oh, okay. Guess that's not happening in this movie. Anyway, guys, I just want to say that my least favorite character was Commissioner Gordon. I thought for such a huge character, like Commissioner Gordon is such an integral part of Batman and Gotham and everything it stands for. I just wish that they did more with him. And so he was my character I thought I was just the least interested in, and I just think was the worst one in the film. Okay, guys, that brings us to a score. A score for this one, it's a 7-7. This is a fine movie. It's not anything to write home about. I'm pretty disappointed, honestly. Going in, I was like, okay, this is cool. The intro is so cool where it slowly pans out from the Batman logo. And I was like, it's like going through like these different columns, and it looks like it's like a giant gray building or whatever. And then it slowly comes up, and I was like, that's awesome. I will say, guys, the fact that they have basically the Batman animated music in here is so awesome. And every time Keaton comes in as Batman, the music plays, and I was like, oh, it's really, really good. It's basically like an MCU theme where it comes in and it's like triumphant music, and it's I was like, oh, so cool when he's in the Batmobile and everything. Very, very comic book inspired, obviously, guys with the Batmobile and Keaton's suit and even Joker's look, and Vicky was great. I just, like I said, I would have liked a little more Alfred and Bruce interactions. The scenes that we got with Bruce, Michael Keaton has he has the best concentrated face I've ever seen in acting. It's great. And he has a pretty good scowl and a pretty good chin for Batman. But whenever we see Bruce, he's kind of just sitting there and just like looking and just focused, and like, it's okay. But I'm just like, I would have liked to see more of like the Playboy Bruce. And they didn't really do that with this take, and maybe we'll see that in the other films. But for me, as a first time watching this version of Batman, I'm so used to like Bruce Wayne, like, you know, being cocky and having the Playboy models around. And it's like he wasn't really interested, and he was interested in Vicky, and I really like their dynamic, but he was kind of almost like a nerdy Bruce Wayne, and I like that a little bit, but it was kind of weird. They didn't really focus too much on his family or like the Wayne legacy. There wasn't, I don't think, Wayne Tower, or if there was, I missed it. And so I just would have liked a little bit more from Keaton. I think he was good, but I don't think he did much in this movie. And I might get some hate for that, but that's just my honest opinion, guys. I thought Jack was the star of the show, and I think they kind of knew what they had in there. And maybe Michael Keaton hadn't been as big at this point. And so now looking back where he's got all these roles, and I love Michael Keaton, he really can carry a movie like I think he did in Spider-Man Homecoming. And in this one, I think he's just not quite there yet. He's not quite the Michael Keaton that we want, or that we need right now. And so it was a fine film. I thought graphically it was okay. There's just too much, like I said, too much fluff, guys. I would have liked about 30 minutes cut off of this. The Jack scene where he comes in and he's like introducing the Joker, where he gives the mask to Vicky, and he's like, put this on now, and he gasses everyone up. I thought that was cool, but it went on too long, where he's like going through and painting and stuff, and I was like, this is a little weird. One thing I did really like, guys, I did mention is when the Joker's like poisoning everyone, and there's like all these deaths that are unconfirmed, and it's so cool because you see the news and they don't know what's causing it. So you slowly see them like degrading, where like the guy's got acne and stuff, and his hair's all disheveled, and they're like, don't use deodorant. They're like, don't do this, don't do that, and they don't know what products are causing it, but people are just dying out of the blue. And I was like, that is an awesome like take on it, dude. Like anytime you get like either biochemical weapons or like mysterious deaths, or like you get Joker as like a serial killer, it's so much better, I think, than like anything where, I don't know. I just really liked that. I don't know how to really describe it, but I really liked that portion of it. And I was like, wow, this is a neat, realistic take where if people were just dying out of the blue and they're trying to find the connections there, it's like, what would happen if you're like, oh, gotta stop using deodorant or stop showering? It's like, it sounds crazy, but it's like when people are just dying and you don't know what's causing it, and it's like, oh, it might be related to this bar soap. It's like, don't use this bar soap, and people are terrified to use it. I think that was a really neat piece there. But yeah, this movie, guys, like I said, 7/7, it's fine. It's not great. I don't think I'd rewatch anytime soon. If we could get like a director's cut where they cut out that 30 minutes I was talking about, and it was just like a tight knit movie, I think it would be great. But I just thought there was too much fluff there, and I don't think this movie needed to be as long as it was. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on 1989 Batman. Okay, guys, well, that's it. That's From Wayne to Wonder. I guess technically week 2, guys. We're doing these every Friday night. This is probably going to go up a little bit late on Friday night, so apologies for that, guys. But I do appreciate you stopping by. Go check out the other content on the channel. We are going to be doing, I think it's Batman and Robin, or it might be Batman Returns. I don't know. I got to Google it, guys. But the next Michael Keaton Batman, I think there's a trilogy. And then we're going to be moving on to the Dark Knight trilogy, I think. We're not going to be doing Batman versus Superman for these reviews, or like Justice League or anything like that. Only the main movies with Batman. I haven't decided if we're going to do Joker yet. Joker's not really a Batman movie, but Joker is so integral to Batman's origin and success. And he's so intrinsically tied to Batman. And I love that Joaquin Phoenix movie that I might throw it in there, but I haven't decided yet. We might do that one last. But either way, guys, appreciate you guys stopping by. Go check out the other content, like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, guys, I'm Batman.